Welcome, guys. Another week, and I tell you what, it's a big week to be doing one of these videos. And had a massive Magic round. Obviously, Jason went to all three days. Came up and watched it. I went to Sunday. Good atmosphere, good time. Loved it. But got to say, there's some things come out of the weekend that we're definitely going to get to. I'm going to talk to. So a lot of fans are voicing their opinions for and against what's happened. Look, as we always want to do, though, we want to start the video on a positive. Weekly weapon of the week, and it's hard to go past this guy, Nathan Cleary. Absolutely freakish. And I'll tell you what, heading into State of Origin time, where we'll do our State of Origin special shortly. But I can't wait. Nathan Cleary's right on form, probably the form player of the comp by some way at the moment. Sid, you would have had to have watched that performance, and what are you making of this young kid who's really still just a kid?
Mate, it was sublime. Probably the best word for it. Just so good. He's put on some strength so he can go himself, and it's added to an already impressive repertoire of ability: short pass, long pass, short kick, long kick. Step, inside ball, change of direction. You name it, he's got it. He's got it all. I think he's the most complete halfback since Andrew Johns. Frankly, complete because he can defend. People say Thurston was better, but Thurston couldn't defend. I say again, wow, sublime.
I love his running game. He's one of those halfbacks, and I think I said on the chat, what makes him so good is that see the young halfbacks coming up. They always say the most important thing is to run the footy. A lot of them don't do it. He loves it. He runs probably more than he should, but it's great to see. Josh, I know the doggies would love to have him. You look very cold, by the way, so please turn your heater on at home.
It's cold.
What do you make of the weekend? What do you make of Nathan Cleary?
Man, gun. If you take this form into Origin, that's what I want, man. Him to take this form into Origin, because in the past, a lot of Blues players have performed, but when it comes to Origin time, you know what I mean? They don't have that spark. But if he can take this form into Origin, it's a big leg up for the Blues, man. And I'm so pumped for that, man. The form he's taking into this Origin series, I've never seen any player be like this, to be honest, never.
We don't want to talk too much about Origin because we are going to do one, guys, in the next couple of weeks where we do our own sides and everything. But the players that are coming back into form for the Blues, it sort of definitely puts the ledger back onto the Blues' favour at the moment. They've got some of the best players in the best positions. And look, Jace, I'll go more with you. Introduction about, obviously, Magic Round. You were there. We met up. And what do you make of it? You were there all three days, so you can talk about the atmosphere and the event.
Didn't he sleep for 3 days? Did he sleep through the? I don't know.
Yeah, John. Yeah, apparently you got to stay awake during halftime as well in case you missed anything. So, but yes, I fell asleep at halftime, but I watched the whole Penrith game. So I watched Nathan Cleary just put on an absolute footballing clinic as a halfback, and like Sid said, most complete halfback since Andrew Johns. I feel the same way. But the scariest part is I really don't think this kid has hit his peak yet. I think in 2 or 3 more years, it'll be his actual peak, and it's going to be scary to see what he's going to be like if his evolution of his game keeps going at this rate. It's going to be scary to see. And
watching Penrith live, watching him live, how structured are they as a team? It's crazy.
These guys, the way their structure is, they're the Melbourne Storm of the early 2000s. Like these guys, like they're the new lot. Like Storm have slipped off that, but watching these guys, just every single player knew their role. And if there was a player out of position and someone else was in there in his spot instead, they still knew what that other player was supposed to be doing. Like they are that well drilled. I really don't see any team taking a premiership off them like at the moment.
Yeah, I've got
an amazing.
I agree.
Yeah, Magic.
Yeah, I was there and watched the Penrith game, and mate, I'll put on the chat as well. And I spoke to Dane about it, who can't make tonight, but he asked me what was it about Penrith, because I said on the chat, I go, them live is just totally different. Like you can actually see why they're so good. I think they're one of those teams on TV. It actually doesn't come across how good they are, but live,
Doesn't
if the ball's on the left-hand side of the field, the players who are right wing and centre act like they're about to get the ball. It is ridiculous. Like everyone in that side looks like they're about to get the ball. And that's what makes them so dangerous. Where I watched other teams throughout Magic Round, and you see half their sides walking back, and they're acting like they're not going to get the ball the whole set. They're just dawdling around. But Penrith are like they're a bunch of 12-year-olds, and they're all just ready to play footy. And it's sensational to watch. And I agree with Jace. It's going to be very hard for a team to beat them. It's going to have to be one of those days where Penrith are a little bit off, and another team like South or the Eels or Storm are right on to get them. But look, that's not the big issue at the moment I want to get to. There's the first talking point, and guys, we've only got a few tonight because this is a big talking point that's been in the game, and there's some fired up people here tonight. The crackdown on the weekend. Obviously, it's not I'm not going to say new rules because the rules have always been there, as we've been told, but a massive crackdown, whether there was things sent out or not, but the NRL decided Magic Round was the right time to do this. People agree, don't agree. I don't think they should be changing rules mid-season, but that's another talking point we'll get to after this initial one. But look, I know there's some people out there, and guys, Sid is a massive league fan, and I know personally that he's been pretty disheartened by what's happened lately, and I don't think it's just about what happened to his side on the weekend, but it's more about where the game's heading. And Sid, I'll let you go first on this one. I know you've got some things to say, but what are you making of this crackdown that's now happened?
Okay, first and foremost, they're probably not going to go backwards. I sense by obviously, well, he said it. He said we're not backing down, and the he I'll speak of is V'landys. Basically, they're just penalising anything that's anywhere near their head, severely penalising. And what we're saying is the accidental ones, the slightest bump, pretty much guaranteed. If a guy that's got the ball, he's doing a hit up, he's wrestling, he just goes like this, and then that's it, penalty. Just goes like, just motions that he got hit in the head, and that's it, penalty. So that's what happened. They asked for it, and they got it. They got a lot of milking. They got a lot of circumstantial ones. There were some big ones. There were some spectacular ones. They probably could have got 10 in the bin in a different time, but got send off. And then the ones that got 10 in the bin, it just was so unreasonable, unrealistic. It's so disappointing. The issue I have, right, I'm gutted, and I appreciate you giving me the time. You're not going to give me a hard time for going on and on. But the issue I had is the game that I love. I played when I was 9. I'm now 40. I fell in love with the game, and this week, my wife said to me, "When's St. George playing?" I said, I don't know. And she just looked at me. She couldn't believe it. That's the first time in a long, long, long time I haven't been just pumped for the weekend. And what's the point? The issue is, and this is what makes me gutted, and I couldn't probably explain it in writing in the group. The issue is that in rugby league, once upon a time, in defense, you could turn the game. You do a big hit or a shoulder charge or a borderline hit, rough up the forwards of the other team, and it turns the game. Jason, you'll know a lot about this. When you have a collision with an opposition number, for example, you're a number 10 and the other guy's a number 10. You have a collision. He's their main man. He's their cornerstone front row, and you're the cornerstone. And then in that collision, one of you comes out a little bit on top, and the other one comes out a little bit rattled, a little bit, what a hit! I got smashed. And the next time, you come together, you can feel his hit up is not as fast, it's not as strong. You're getting on top of him. All right. That's the beauty of turning a game in defense. Now, no shoulder charges, so it's very hard to turn a game with a big, spectacular shoulder charge, which people used to love. You couldn't intimidate other teams. I understand that you can't fight, you can't throw punches, you can't intimidate other teams. You got blokes running their mouth and moonwalking out of there, and patting heads and being smartasses because they know they're not going to get whacked. Then Melbourne Storm came in with this wrestling thing because they're trying to win rucks. They're trying to turn games in defense. You see the pattern, and then they go, all right, nice. We'll just do we outlaw this chicken wing, and again, I agree with it. But It stifled him every possible way to turn the game in defence. Now, this high tackle rubbish where even if it's close, the guy just goes all like this and that's it, it's a penalty. You can't turn the game with a big hit. So basically, the only way to stop a team that's rolling is to hope they drop the ball, to hope they stuff it up. It's going to become like NFL when any team that goes in the red zone, they're going to come away with points. In NFL, at least they go for a field goal, which is 3 points. And for us, like a penalty goal, which is 2 points, you know? And I feel like that's what they're heading towards. But the worst thing about it is the only way to inflict damage, going back to my initial, where you're getting on top of your opposite man and your run becomes stronger and his run becomes not so strong, which means you're getting on top of him from your hits and from your collisions. The only way to get on top of him now is in attack. And then you know what's going to happen the next step? Mark my words. The guy's going to be running like a Moses Leota or a Tamalolo or somebody like that. And he's going to run so hard, and some guy's going to go low because they've been telling him to go low and don't wrap up the ball. He's going to cop 2 knees to the jaw, knock him out. Referee's going to penalise you for running too hard. And how's that for full contact rugby league? That's what's going to happen next. They're going too far and they ruin the game. Thanks for listening.
Josh and Jace, I'll throw to you straight away here. You got something to come back at Sid with, or you agreeing?
I think he's pretty much covered everything that we're all feeling, man, and that's the honest truth. What he just put into words is how I think everyone is feeling. You know what I mean? What's this game? Do we know this game anymore? Is this rugby league? You know what I mean? Like, it's questioning, okay, what is rugby league changing? Is everything changing? This isn't the rugby league we grew up with. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, like what Sid said, I think he covered everything that we're all thinking, man.
Jace?
Quote from Ben Hunt. He nailed it on the head, and no disrespect to any other sport, but Ben Hunt said to the ref, "We're not fucking playing netball." It's as simple as that. This is our game. This is the game that we grew up with. And I think they've gone too far as well. Like, even the little link that Sayed shared in our group chat with Brett Finch is 100% right. They want to speed up the game. You're going to have players sin bins sent off. You're going to end up with less players on the field. That means more fatigue. When you're under fatigue, technique goes out the window. That's the first thing that goes. When you're under fatigue, your body's still going to move, but it's not moving at full pace, and therefore you compensate with a lack of technique. And that's when we're going to start seeing a lot more players sent, a lot more head highs. And look, don't get me wrong, like with this actual send-offs on the weekend, I can pretty much agree with the send-offs. With those sin bins, a lot of them were debatable, like, to say the least. Like, I've seen worse happen in the past that was let go completely. And I also think because this was Magic Round and every single game was at the same field, I think every single ref felt the pressure back-to-back games, back-to-back. Game before, players sent off, sin bin, whatever. The next referee for the next game felt like he had to keep it going. I think that was a big thing, having Magic Round, having all the teams playing at the same field. It'll be good to see this weekend if that was a factor or not. 100% agree with the boys. It's gone way too far. And for me, it just feels like it's a bit of a cash grab for the NRL because these players are getting put on report. You know, if they miss a suspension, they still pay a fine. If they do get suspended, they still pay a fine. Either way, NRL is cashing in. More fines, more targets, more money in their pocket.
Just a point to add on to this, like, we do care about the players' welfare too. You know, we're not saying, oh, it's just horrendous. We still care about their welfare, but they're crossing the line with how they're interpreting the law. That's what's happening. And that's how we're feeling as fans, because we're noticing it. Because some of those send-offs, come on, man, they weren't send-offs. A penalty, yeah, okay, you give a penalty, but not like a 10-minute in the bin. No way.
And as a player, as a former player, you know, I've been head-high'd before. But you know what? Accidents happen. You know it's an accident on the field. You can tell the difference on the field whether it was an accident on purpose. And I think a lot of these accidents are getting penalised way too harsh with send-offs or sin bins.
I think, look, I do agree. I think there's got to be a bit of a different opinion as well here. So I'll try and put my Peter V'landers hat on for a second. But before I do that, I just want to touch on like Jason, I said I was there Sunday, and the thing I find very weird about this whole situation, the crowd starts cheering and chanting more now when a player gives away a high tackle or something for a sin bin or send off. The cheers are louder for that than there was for some of the tries on the weekend. Now, for me as a
Great.
viewer, that's the game's getting into a very weird spot there for cheering on the foul play and encouraging the lesser player and things like that. For mine, is treading into dangerous water. That it's an entertainment business. We're there to watch the tries and cheer our teams on, and I don't think we should be there to encourage teams to get down to 11 or 10 men, stuff like that. So, look, if I'm Peter V'landys, he's obviously doing this because he's saying that the players need some protection. It's gone on for too long now. We always say about the good old days, and this is a rugby league that we all grew up watching, which isn't the case. It hasn't been that for, I'd say, 10 years at least. Now, my problem with that is that every time you watch a highlights package of, say, Parramatta's about to play Manly, what do you see? Highlights of the 80s where they're both smashing each other, giving it to each other. The NRL's happy to show all this to the fans. Why are they now changing it and don't want it to be in the modern game, yet they're the first ones to put this on our TV screens and a way of advertising? You see Manly against Newcastle, what's the first thing that gets shown?
But in chief goes
so, every time we see it, it happens. It's like when we used to see little highlights of Sonny Bill in these Bulldogs days and always doing the shoulder charges on Joel Clinton and stuff like that. But I guess there is some ways of protecting the players. But is this a way where the game's now got to become like boxing, like UFC, where the players sign a waiver to say that they understand there's risks that there's going to be brain damage in years to come? We've obviously seen some past players opt that down the track, but is that something that they move to going forward to, I guess, get some mongrel back in the game? Because at the moment, there's no advantage for defence. It's basically hold on to get 30 or 6 tackles. Hopefully, they don't score a try, and away you go. Is that something we can go to, Sid?
Yeah. Look, if they want to put it in writing, they can put it in writing. The fact of the matter is, the players know what they're getting themselves into when they get out there. Some people crave it. It's a release. It's a war without guns and death. You go out there, you bash opposition, they bash you, and then afterwards you have a beer together and you have a laugh. We're men. It's not, since the beginning of time we've craved this contact. Since the gladiators in the arena. Now this is the closest thing we have, with a bit of skill, with a ball to fight over and a try line and some glory, which doesn't end with a sword cutting your head off. It ends with a trophy, holding up a trophy. It should be celebrated. And so, but back to the point, the players know what they're getting into when they cross that white line, and it's a thrill, it's a badge of honor to go on the footy field. Not anyone could do it. I remember in school I was playing, and I played 16 years, right? And in school I was playing, and you play school comp, and you guys will all agree, when you play in school comp, maybe 3 or 4 of you actually play on the weekends, park footy, but you're 10 times better than the other blokes, and some of them, they'll play 10 minutes or they might play half a game and they won't turn up next week because it's just not for them. But to be, as I say, it is a badge of honor to be able to do this and play this. We know what we're doing. We know what we're getting into, and we love it. But if you want to put it in writing and get a waiver just to stop what happened with James McManus. Now, I don't know if you guys know, very, very important, significant factor, and maybe a reason for all this is James McManus, the old winger from Newcastle. He sued the league and he won because he was getting headaches because he dove over and he did that flip thing and landed on his head a couple of times, and he gets headaches. You know what? I haven't touched a footy in full contact since I was 27, 13 years ago, and I still get headaches. But I'm a nobody, so I'm not going to get any cash out of it. You know what I mean? Like, what about all of us nobodies? If you're going to do that and say you're going to protect these players, what about the million other nobodies that we know, like myself, like Jason? We played a lot of park footy, a lot of regional footy. That we got lots of high tackles. High tackles is nothing for us. But I just think it's it's just bullshit. It's just rubbish. They're losing more than they're gaining. Yes, protect the players, but they've gone too far anyways.
Mate, you're not a nobody to us and our followers. You're Sid from League of Inches. You just remember that, please. Jace, you played at, I guess, a higher level. You started to go up through the grades. Did you ever think to yourself, or were you worried about ramifications down the track to you, brain injury-wise, post-football, as you were going through the grades? Was that ever a concern?
Yeah, look, I agree with the waiver thing. I guarantee if you got them to sign waivers, 99.9% of them would sign it and wouldn't have a problem signing it. For me, yes, I suffered concussions. I've been knocked out on the field from head highs and that, but I've still come back into the game. The same game. Well, we didn't have concussion protocol back then. Like, I've played in Group 10 out in the central west of New South Wales, which is one of the toughest comps by far that I've ever played in. And the local derbies, if you went and watched one of these local derbies, I guarantee you 3 people are getting their heads taken off. But you know what? That player getting their head taken off, they jump back to their feet. They'll play again next week, but they'll be looking forward to the next local derby to give some back to them. We know what we're getting ourselves into. These young kids are coming up. By the time they hit 15, if they don't want to play league anymore, they won't. They'll go to soccer, go somewhere else. But guess what? They're not. They're still in league because they love the sport. They love the contact. They love the challenge. It's as simple as that. I agree with the waiver thing, but you know what you're getting yourself into. It never, ever crossed my mind to quit. The only reason I decided to pull back on my sport was because of injuries, just because the body can't handle it anymore, not because of concussions, this and that, the headaches, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I think the way you're going, the next time you see or cross paths with Josh, the way you've been in the chat, he'll give you another concussion. So you be careful. Now, on the last little point of this, obviously we said there wasn't many talking points this week because we wanted to go in depth with this sort of situation at the moment. But my last point, that hasn't really been said too much. I haven't seen in the media. So, and I'll go to Josh first. I don't like the fact that the NRL have crackdowns and change or implement different rules mid-season. Now, I feel like it's an unfair advantage on teams and coaches. They prepare months in advance for this and they get their rosters prepared for what the game should be like when they were preparing for it. They get to this stage and it's completely different. Now, if I look at your team, the Dogs, you've got 2 players who straight away from mine look like they could be spending most of the season on the sidelines because of these new rules, and you probably wouldn't have brought them to start with in Napa and Hetherington. Every time they're on the field now, you'll probably be just shaking in your boots going, we're about to go down to bloody 11 men here. So is it fair for the game to be doing these changes mid-season, considering there's so much at stake in terms of playing rosters and things like that?
We're the only code that do this. We're the only code that change rules during the season. Like, the teams have to adapt to rules changing. Like, every week there's something new. Like, the enforcer's out of the game now. You can pretty much say the enforcer is off rugby league. Dylan Napa, the Jack Hetheringtons, you know what I mean? If Adrian Morley played in nowadays, if he played this year, he wouldn't play a game at all, Adrian Morley. You know what I mean? The enforcer's gone. Like, it's just...
He would have been gone for the season.
Yeah, man. It's just, like, they're changing the rules. Like, teams have to adapt. And like you said, Joel, like, 2 of our main players, like, say, Napa and Hetherington, they're enforcers. They're there to change the game. You know what I mean? To put on the hits. But, yeah, I don't know. It's rubbed out of the game now, eh?
They can't do that anymore. And Sid, I guess, for the Dragons, I mean, 3 weeks ago you signed Maguire to play that enforcer role. Now he's going to no doubt spend more time on the sideline than he will be playing. So it's like, if you told us a few weeks ago, I don't think the Dragons probably signed Maguire to start with.
That's right. 100% right. We'll just stuck with the no frills guys that we had. We brought him in for line speed. He's tackling tumble type. Doesn't mind getting his head in dangerous places, all that sort of thing. You know, he roughs up the other team. He gets them off the game. That's his strength. But he brings a lot of baggage, obviously, with his loading. You know, and he does tread the line well. He no longer treads the line. He is the line. Some guy, and I'm glad you brought it up. Some guy, I don't know who put on Twitter, put Josh Maguire may as well start the game in the sin bin, and he was right before the game. You know, that screenshot was so confusing. Dragons. We knew this was coming. You know, it was going to happen because it's just, oh man, it's too much. And you guys joked in the group that I was upset about the Dragons and they lost. Like, you know what? I was actually really proud of the effort. The effort was there, even when we went to 11 men. They kept trying and trying, but and I was like, you know what? It's hopeless. You can't turn a game. You do a big hit, it's a penalty. You do anything, it's a penalty. You tackle a guy and your body lands sort of on his ankle or whatever, it's a penalty. And you know how I feel about the hip drop because it happened to me and it ended my career. But like everything's a penalty. Can't they just let him play footy? If you do a big hit, the onus is on you. If it's a little bit too much, all right, penalty. But if the guy gets up slowly, it doesn't mean it's a penalty. It means it's a big hit, you know. But yeah. Anyways, I'm sidetracking again. Go on.
That's right. And I want to finish on this one and move on. And we'll obviously go back to it next week. But obviously on the Sunday, Josh was giving it to you a bit. I think Josh's problem was he was down at Thredbo in the snowfields, having a bit of a good time. So sorry about Josh. He does get a bit excited sometimes and just lights up the group and talks to himself. People, it's actually
at least he's back
crazy.
from space. He went from space to
but yeah,
Lovely,
that's that. And as I said, I'm sure we're going to get back into it next week. There's going to be something pop up. I hope it sort of calms itself down. It needs to. I was always an advocate. I feel like we should just go to set a limit and just go as soon as you make contact with the head flush, it's an automatic 8-week suspension. Make the penalty for it higher, so increase the risk. Say you're allowed to do it still, but if you put in a big hit and it goes south, well, you're going to get sledged with the hammer and you're going to be sitting down for quite some time. Is a good way, I think, not try to ban it altogether. But Jason, I'm going to go to you first with this one. Magic round, obviously brilliant round. You loved it. Any changes you'd like to make for it moving forward, however?
From a spectator's point of view, like everything was like brilliant. The footy, all that, having all the games there is perfect. But the only thing I would have done is a bit more entertainment for the spectators, like in between games. Like they had really absolutely nothing. Like there was no shows. Like if any of you guys had been to the Sevens while they were still going in Sydney and that, it's a party atmosphere. Like, don't get me wrong, this was a party atmosphere as well in Magic Round, but they always had stuff going on between each game, like meaningful stuff, like stuff that the crowd could get involved in. That's the only thing that I would say. But other than that, mate, I loved it, and I'll be back there again next year.
Is that why you fell asleep?
Yeah, because this is at halftime, not between games, Josh. So
okay. Oh, sorry.
Keep running with the same joke. It'll get funny eventually.
I echo exactly what Jason said. I've been there on the Sunday. Now, I know they had some DJs on the Friday and the Saturday nights. And on Sunday, I don't want to disrespect these guys, but they had a band there that I've never heard of in my life. They sort of didn't do it for me. I feel like at the footy, you need to have your rock stars and that kind of music going, really pump up the crowd, get it going. That was missing for mine. Also, I wouldn't mind seeing it maybe start moving some venues and things like that. But all in all, pretty fun round. It does go for a while, so make sure you go next year and bring some mates and stuff. You need some boys around and have a few drinks because it is quite a long day after a while. And when you're just sitting there with the missus like I was, goodness me, you need a bit of a break, guys. But yeah, love you, babe. You're a good one. Josh.
They need to take it out of Queensland for starters. Bloody the worst place to host Magic Round, I'll tell you.
Look,
the worst state in Australia.
Your hatred towards the state is laughable. You're jealous now that it's taken your bum buddy. But I want to go to you for this third point because you can't wait to bring up Origin. And a smoky for Origin. It can be for either New South Wales or Queensland. What's the player that you've put down as a smoky?
Smoky. Josh Schuster.
Ooh,
Josh Schuster, yeah.
off the
Man,
bench.
utility. Off the bench, yeah, because he can play. He can play in the halves. Like he can play in the halves. He can play in the back row. And his form this year's been crazy, man. He's been killing it for Manly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a good player, good ball player. So if anything ever happens to the halves or anyone in the back row, he'll slot in perfect. So I'll put him in the bench somewhere.
Sid got a smoky for us, and maybe a Dragons player that hasn't been seen for a while.
That hasn't been suspended.
Yeah,
Injured?
maybe.
You,
Billy Burns.
oh God, thank you. Oh man. I'll tell you my play. I'll tell you my play. Isaiah Yayo, whatever his name is, from Penrith.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was one of those years last year. He had a breakout year, and everyone was like, okay, well, it's good. It's a massive improvement. Let's see what he does, and he's just picked it up and actually gotten better. I like the fact that he's so tall because you just can't dominate him. He's tall and skinny, so he doesn't have like a wide target. He gets between defenders, gets on his front, and does a quick play the ball. He's got a bit of ball skills as well. He doesn't change the way he holds the ball to pass as well, which makes him, on face value, people wonder why he's so dangerous. When he runs, he's like this. It's like he's dumbing the whole time, and it's very impressive. He's come a long way, and I think he'll be there because of the Cleary Luai combination.
Yeah. Jace, you got someone?
I think my smoky, same mentality as Josh, a player that can cover a few positions. He can cover back row, lock, play in the halves. He can also go into dummy half. I think a good choice for that utility spot on the bench would be Tyrone Peachey.
Yeah, okay.
That's who I'll...
Well, you've all gone New South Wales. I'm actually going to go Queensland, and buddy, a bloke that some people may know, Cameron Smith, has stolen my idea, the dickhead from this morning. But I'd actually choose Reid Marnie, and I'd actually start with him for Queensland. Let him rack up the tackles the first 30 minutes, and then bring Harry Grant off the bench so he can do some attacking work and work around a tired ruck. So that's worked pretty well for Storm this year with Brandon Smith starting. I just think Reid Marnie's made for Queensland. He's a tackling machine. He's so tough. Love the fact he's with the Eels, but yeah, looking forward to it. Let's do some tips, boys. Get through a couple here. There's some good games this week, actually, some pretty hard ones. So I want to go through a few and get your thoughts. First one's Cowboys Knights tomorrow night. I'll go to Sid first. Cowboys or Knights?
Cowboys are going a little bit better. I think I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Cowboys. As long as they don't lose the sin bin count, they'll win the game. No problem.
Josh?
Yeah, I think Cowboys. No Ponga, no Best. So I think Cowboys will cover them.
Yeah, thanks for the up-to-date notes on the Facebook page as well, mate. Really love your work, Jace.
Cowboys just on their form recently. Knights have been off the radar completely.
I wanted to do a piece on the Knights this week, but there was too much to talk about, so we'll get to them next week. But they're a rabble at the moment. I'm pretty disappointed in them. I think they've probably been the most disappointing team of the year to date. I'm going to go the Cowboys. Knights just have a mentality there that's pretty disgraceful at the moment in that club, and they really need to have a change. Warriors Tigers, I find, is an interesting one up at Central Coast Stadium. Jace, who you going this one?
I'm going to stick with Warriors. Pretty decent team. I think they, if they can wrestle it out and keep the score low for most of the game, I think they'll come in over the back end of the game and win it.
Yep. Josh?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Warriors also on this one.
Yeah.
I think their back line is a bit better, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're strong at the moment. Sid?
Hmm.
I'm going to have to disagree with the boys. I think the Warriors are on the slide. They peaked some weeks ago, and they just seem to be just plodding along. Maybe living away from home is getting to them a little bit. The speculation that they might be able to play at home might be on the back of their minds. I don't know. But I feel like, they're plodding along, and, I'm going with what's trending. And I think the Tigers are going on the up, and the Warriors are on the low. Not quite on the slide, but just flatlining a little bit of flat.
I'm going to go total opposite to you, Sid. I'm going to say the exact same points, but for the opposite teams. I actually think the Knights made Tigers look pretty good last week. Knights were absolutely horrible. The Warriors looked fairly good against Para, actually. They came back when they probably could have easily got 50 put on them. I like the fact that they did that. So I'm going to go with the boys here. I'm going to go the Warriors. Look, I'm going to skip Sharks and Dragons because actually, no, let's quickly do Sharks and Dragons because I'm not too sure what's going to happen here. Sid, you going to remain loyal or is there too many changes?
Look, there's a part of me that there's a game plan that could work for a struggling team. It's a simple game plan. It's basically consists of dummy half runs down the blind or in behind the markers for the first 2-3 runs, and then doing hit ups. Now, a smaller team, it will work. Tigers won the comp in 2005 doing that game plan. I don't know when they're going to do it or if Griffin is thinking of it, but currently the way they play, they bash and barge, and they just don't have the size and the power to trouble oppositions, and they're left to offload and rely on Dufty and Hunt. If they can do adjust their game plan according to the cattle that they have, they can win. But I think Sharks are probably too strong. I'll go with Sharks this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Sharkies as well. Now, quickly, we've got about a minute to go, but we've got a Super Sunday. Massive games. South Penrith. Jace?
Penrith. Don't see anyone beating them.
Josh?
Same, Penrith.
Sid?
I love the Sharks because Souths because of Penrith, but I'm going to go with Penrith as well.
And then the last one, the match of the round for mine, Para versus Manly. Sid?
What a cracker. 80-minute draw? That's a tough one. I'm going to go with 80-minute draw.
All right, Joshy?
Ooh.
Good
I'll
value.
take the Eels here. I think the Eels will take it.
Jace?
I think it's going to be a very close one, but I think Eels will edge them out.
I think Para in a mighty tough one, a very close one try in it. Go with the heart, go the mighty blue and gold. But that's it, guys. We'll come back and obviously do it again next week. Sid, stick with us, brother. Stick with the game. It is going to get there eventually.
We love you, mate.
We all love you.
We love you.
Stick there.
Go
We
the
all love
Dogs.
you. And hooroo to
Wants
the
to beat the Titans.
group.